Recently, I asked you guys to find me a budget keyboard that would compete with the Walmart keyboard in performance, and you guys delivered. In fact, one of you in specifics recommended this one, and upon looking at it, I was impressed. So for just $10 more than the Walmart keyboard, we're gonna build something that's going to look 100% custom and might actually sound it. So, let's get right into it. So, what do we have today? Well, today we have the Tecware Phantom, and this is specifically their TKL layout. Now, this one was, as I said, recommended by one of you guys to take a look at, and it's very interesting. So, for one, it actually looks very similar to the Walmart keyboard in the way that it's laid out, and heck, even pictures of its PCB look similar. But it does have a couple of awesome differences. For one, it actually has a hot swap socket. Granted, the switches you can use in that hot swap socket are not nearly as diverse as the ones that you can find in the Kale hot swap sockets that are found in more expensive keyboards. This does, of course, have individual RGB backlight. They do advertise the quality of their keycaps, but you know me, we're never gonna stick with the defaults. I actually have another set right here. But it also talks about its V2 stabilizers, so we'll have to see how all of that kind of plays together. Flipping around to the back, we can see a couple of extra features, including the fact that it is hot swappable, which means we're going to be able to lube these switches really easily. Double shot ABS keycaps, those are, I personally prefer PBT. If you prefer ABS, it's all up to you. It's all preferences. Gold-plated USB connector again. So this apparently weighs 1 kilogram and runs off of USB 2.0. It is a heavy box, actually. Okay, I like the presentation of this a lot. It doesn't look like a budget keyboard. We've got a protective piece of plastic. That wasn't as satisfying as I hoped it would be. We've got our cable, and it has a USB cover. That's actually slightly annoying, but okay. It is a very nice looking USB cable. I will give it that. And of course our board, so really not much comes with it except for what just popped out of the... Okay, so it's actually some replacement switches. That's nice. So we've got some of these Otemu browns, which are the switches that are in here. And then we got a really bad keycap puller. I hate that version of it. There's a much better one that's just as cheap. So, all right, and here is the keyboard. Okay, it's got a nice feel to it. So it looks like our cable is not detachable. Whoa, that's interesting. So we have this little switch puller that came with it, but it's got a built-in, how do I get to that? Keycap puller. That's actually kind of cool. Okay, keep that in there. So also looking around back, that's kind of nice. The rubber on the back here is actually fairly grippy, a little spongy. That's good for actually sound vibration. It does have one of my favorite features when a keyboard doesn't have a modular cable. It has a cable channel that you can route the cable through so that you can either route it through the center, the left, or the right, depending on how you prefer it. But I will say that the quality of the cable is not bad. It's got a very nice braid on it. It's a soft braid material, which is, again, it's pretty good. And then there's this connector, as we talked about earlier, which is gold plated, doesn't really do anything. So weight-wise, it feels sturdy. I mean, it feels like it's mostly plastic, but it's got some weight. It's a thick plastic, it is. So why don't we go ahead, and before we do anything, give it a quick listen to see how it sounds. You know what? It's not bad. It's not bad at all. In fact, actually, out of the box, this is pretty good. As I said earlier, it has a very light tactical bump, but the stabilizers feel pretty good. Like, there's no rattle in them. So I'm actually very curious on what they're doing here, because these, they sound pretty good. And you can hear from the bottom now that this could thock if given the right treatment. So that's pretty cool. So we're actually gonna take another look at something else by Tecware before we start modding. And that is actually a piece that they sell that is separate, that allows you to change the top plate and the top plate sound. So, oh, it looks like it's plastic. Okay, with magnets? So maybe this is steel? So this is an optional accessory that you can get that it didn't cost that much. And it's just, oh. Okay, that looks pretty clean. I thought it would look clean. That like completely changes the look of the keyboard. All right, that even changed the sound a little bit too. So here, let's give you a sound test of this. Okay, out of the box, I actually really like this one. Like, this is for $10 extra. I mean, and then whatever the cost of this little mod was, I think it was like an extra 10. So it came to around like $50, give or take, depending on sales. This is impressive. I really like this. I like how it looks. I like how it sounds. And this is without modding any of the switches yet. All I can say is right now, this is actually really impressive. There is a small imperfection on the space bar here. The keycaps are shiny, but we are going to replace those as soon as we're done with the initial test, because I like to test these things as stock as I can from the companies. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to test this, and then I will be back to do some modding. All right, after testing the gaming performance and the typing performance of this, what do I think? I think it's pretty awesome, actually. I think out of the box, this is actually a really good keyboard to use. And so I'm actually very excited to see what will happen after we mod it. That being said, ABS keycaps, they are on the clackier side. So the sound is gonna be clackier if we used ABS, but we're switching to PBT, so we should get a bit of a deeper sound to that. We are also going to be using 205 grade 0 instead of Tribosis 203, 2203. But I think realistically, the stabs ended up performing very well. Its performance is definitely very fast, if that makes sense. The actuation force isn't very much, so they're lighter keys and they perform very well. In fact, the Muse Dash, which uses a lot of repetitive and fast actions, it worked better than expected. So honestly, I'm impressed. And if you are looking for a budget keyboard, I can already recommend this without any modifications. But now we're gonna mod it, which to do, we have to pop that off and start getting into it. Getting into this keyboard is pretty simple. We're first gonna wanna take off these keycaps. They are ABS, so we're gonna be replacing them with a nice PBT set instead. This will give us a nicer, thockier sound than the default. From there, we're going to want to take out all of our switches. That way we can lube them. That being said, this socket is, well, different. It takes a lot more force to remove them, and I actually had a lot of difficulty removing the switches without actually damaging any of the top housings. There were a handful of switches where I did break the plastic connector pieces. That being said, the PCB did stay intact, and I actually disassembled the board to check this. Fortunately, the board is actually really easy to get to with absolutely no glue holding it together. Okay, let's take a look here. All right, so I was right. Also, by the way, that is flipping great. It's not too hard to unsolder this to change out the cable if you wanted to. That's not bad. We've got bottom case foam right here. And then in between the plate and the PCB is another set of case foam. So we actually have a lot of foam in this thing, and what is effectively a very dense case. So yeah, that's the reason we're not getting any extra sound from this bad boy. It's very well designed to trap a lot of those vibrations and dissipate them. So we're done modding it, moving it, and giving it a nice new keycap set. And well, for a budget build, this thing looks insane. Like, just look at it. Not only that, but listen to how it sounds. Now, I don't know how much of that's actually going to come through on camera, but sounds pretty good. And when you compare the before and after, you can tell that the PBT keycaps plus the lubing does actually contribute to a deeper, almost creamier sound. That being said, there still is some scratchiness, even though we use 205 grade 0 as opposed to Tribosis 3203, even though these are tacticals. And that is because of the material of the bottom housing, which is the biggest issue with this switch. The actual sound of the bottom out is great, which you can hear on there. It's got a nice sound to it, but unfortunately, there is an issue with the material where it's porous and is actually very difficult to lube in a way that doesn't sound scratchy. This can easily be avoided by simply replacing the switches, but because our goal was to stick around $100 for this build, which we did hit, by the way, it unfortunately is not something that we would be able to fix. Even the lube that we used would still fit into this budget with items on sale, and heck, you don't even need to add this cosmetic plate. I did that because aesthetics, but it sounds good nonetheless. That being said, the Tecware Phantom actually does get a recommendation in my book for actually one of the best budget keyboards. The fact that you can get it in a tactical or a clicky is great, and the fact that it has hot swappable switches is great. The fact that you can add this cover piece, which I'm going to keep doing because this is still the coolest feature of this keyboard, is great. Swappable keycaps, great. Everything about it is enthusiast except for the cable. And Tecware, if you do make a revision of this, just make the cable USB-C and removable, and I am sure that this will sell even better. I mean, looking at it, can you tell that this is a $100 keyboard build? I couldn't. I look at this and think, wow, someone spent a lot of time and effort on this. Thing is, this whole thing was purchased on Amazon in only a couple minutes, and everything here is in stock. So I'm leaving a link down below to everything that we bought in this video because I actually recommend every single piece of this. But that's where we're gonna end today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, consider giving it a like, commenting, subscribing. I'm gonna be making more content like this real soon. In fact, actually, I think it might be time to actually show you guys how this one was built. Yeah, this keyboard's kind of awesome. As a One Piece fan, this is a special board to me. So maybe that's up next when it comes to keyboards. And if you have any other budget keyboards you want me to take a look at, drop it down into the comments. A budget keyboard would be a base for around $50 to $60, and then with switches, and then I will accumulate a budget of close to around $100 to modify it. So those are the parameters. If you have something in mind that you've seen that you are like, this looks really cool, I want Wolfie to take a look at it, drop it down in the comments because this right here was a recommendation from one of you. So yeah, go ahead and leave a comment about it. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Wolfie, out.